a difficult time, and we just appreciate you joining us to learn more about the Global Classroom Project. So today we'd like to thank Organization of American States and ITEN for inviting us to present. We'd also like to thank you for joining us to learn more about what the Global Classroom Project is and how you might be able to participate as well. Our outcome for today is to provide you with an awareness of what the GCP, you'll hear us refer to it as the GCP, the Global Classroom Project in Fairfax County Public Schools is. We are located in Fairfax, Virginia in the United States. And we hope that if this is something that you find interesting, that you would be interested in partnering with us on, that we can make a connection and see where we might be able to develop a partnership. My name is Joanne Hardy, and I've been leading the work of the Global Classroom Project since its inception about 3 years ago. I'm joined today by my colleagues and co-presenters who will take this opportunity to introduce themselves. So Susan.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Susan Wagoner, and I am the project manager for the Global Classroom Project. Kim?
Kim A's sound is off, so I'll
There we go. I'm Kim Aminabar, and I'm an educational specialist for equity and cultural responsiveness in Fairfax County Public Schools. And Joanne, you might want to, I don't see the slides advancing, so you might want to.
Okay, thank you. And we also have a group of our team members who are here joining us today, and we'd like to ask them to introduce themselves. Megan, do you want to get started?
Yep. Hi, I'm Megan Highland-Eddy, and I am the Internationalization Specialist for Fairfax County.
I'm Beatrix Preuße-Burr, and I'm the World Languages Specialist for Fairfax County, and I work primarily with our elementary programs, including immersion programs.
I'm Kim Siegel, and I work in Library Information Services, primarily with elementary as well.
Hi, I'm Donna Volkman. I'm the Educational Specialist with our Get to Green program, which is our environmental stewardship program in Fairfax County Public Schools.
All right, thank you all. We have a large team of people that help with this project, and really we couldn't do it without them. So these are the people that are going to be responding to your questions as we go through the presentation. We will send a follow-up email with all of our contact information, as well as additional information from today's webinar. So if you don't catch their names or get their contact information, we will send that to you.
So I just want to give you a little background about Fairfax County, Virginia. We're located just outside of Washington, D.C. We're a suburb of Washington, D.C. Washington is actually a very small city and area. And so you'll see that Fairfax County is actually almost 3 times this size geographically, and definitely 3 times this size in population as well. These are some various facts about Fairfax County. We are the 10th largest school division in the United States, and we have 198 schools and centers that are part of our school division. The system is very diverse. We have roughly 193,000 students, and that's pre-K through 12th grade. And we're also a very diverse system in that we speak over 200 languages within our school system. There's about 24,000 full-time staff and about 15,000 teachers in those 198 schools. Contrary to what many people might think about the United States, even within our county, which is one of the more wealthy counties in the country, we have 59,000 students that are classified as economically disadvantaged, and 28,000 students with disabilities. And actually, we have 36,000 students that are English learners, of whom almost 30% are Hispanic. So it's a very diverse place in many, many respects.
In 2014, Fairfax County Public Schools adopted 5 attributes for indicators of student success beyond the classroom. We acknowledge that in our rapidly changing world, Education needs to evolve to fulfill our mission of supporting student success in school and in life. The FCPS Portrait of a Graduate prioritizes the development of skills that will empower students to be productive citizens in a global community and in the workforce. Our Portrait of a Graduate attributes are very similar to many of the 21st century student skills identified around the world. You will see the icons on this page representing each of the attributes several times throughout this presentation. Fairfax County Public Schools and the Organization of American States established a partnership in July of 2019. An agreement or memo of understanding was formed between the Organization of American States Secretary General and Fairfax County Public Schools Chief Operating Officer. The purpose is to promote goal number 4 of the United Nations Sustainable Goals, quality education for all. It is intended to provide partnership opportunities between our school system and the Organization of American States member states. And we will put a link into our chat room so that you can access some photos about that news event.
Okay, thank you, Susan and Kim. So now that you know a little bit of the background of how we're working with the Organization of American States, we wanted to kind of dive into what the project really is all about. So I'm going to give you a minute to read the Global Classroom Project vision. So you might note that the Portrait of a Graduate attributes mentioned in the previous slide are a part of our vision. We recognize that this may not be an exact match for what your vision may be, and our teachers that are participating in this project honor their partners' ideas to create a project that benefits all students. The Global Classroom Project has 5 pathways really in which you can enter into this work. And these pathways really accommodate almost everything. So the first pathway that we look at is content enrichment. Often people that enter through this content enrichment pathway are looking at how they can deepen their science content or how they might be able to look at their history content through a global lens. Cultural responsiveness is another pathway that teachers enter into this. Language acquisition, we have immersion programs. We have a Spanish immersion program at the elementary level, and then we have world language programs. So people who are looking to provide authentic opportunities to practice in the target language might develop a partnership. This might also help our English language learners who develop confidence in being able to work both in a home language and in their new language here in the United States. STEAM or STEM is another pathway in which a lot of people enter into this work. And then sustainability, and Donna had talked about the Get to Green program, which is what we call it in Fairfax County Public Schools, but really it's all about sustainability. So that's another pathway. You can see a lot of these pathways intersect, and there's not one pathway that you have to stick to, but it's just really an entry point for teachers. So the foundational elements of the Global Classroom Project, we look at this in 3 pillars. So again, you're going to see those icons, the Portrait of a Graduate icons, thinking about communicator, collaborator, global and ethical citizen, critical and creative thinker, and goal-directed and resilient So while we call them Portrait of a Graduate, many people around the world call them 21st century skills. So our teachers use that as one of the foundational elements for this project. We also look at the grade level and course content. Teachers, any teacher, K through 12, so 5-year-olds all the way through 18-year-olds can participate in this program. Teachers that teach any content area can participate in this program because there's always a connection we've found up until this point with our third connection, which are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So to look at the content through the Global Classroom Project, this visual example is what we call our Fairfax County Public Schools learning model. And it has 4 domains. You can see that there's the learner-centered environment, concept-based curriculum, meaningful learning experiences, and purposeful assessment. In the center of this learning model, we hope that all of our students are reaching the portrait of a graduate outcomes. So the Global Classroom Project supports all of these domains, thinking about blended learning opportunities for students as we use technology to communicate with one another, creating safe and positive learning communities. So that's really, and Kim Aminabar actually does a lot of this work. That's really where we talk about looking at this through that cultural perspective. How are we making those connections? When we think about concept-based curriculum, we think about clear intended learning outcomes and then authentic global connections. Often when we're teaching our kids, we're teaching them content, but they're only seeing that content from one perspective. So being able to widen that perspective for students is really powerful for their learning. When we think about meaningful learning experiences, what kind of inquiry-based instructional practices are we giving them? We do a lot of project-based learning in Fairfax County, and I'm thinking that some of you do that as well. So that's something that can fit in with that as well. And then student choice, providing kids with opportunities to choose their path for learning and their activities that help them learn best. Finally, the last domain is purposeful assessment. So one of the outcomes of the Global Classroom Project is that our kids are doing something to take action towards a sustainable development goal. So that performance-based assessment is designed to provide them the opportunity to do that. And then presentations of learning, that's a Fairfax County thing, and that's really how kids are able to demonstrate those portrait of a graduate outcomes that we've referenced in several slides already. So the third pillar of the Global Classroom Project, as mentioned before, are the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. So these goals are the blueprint to achieve a better and more sustainable future for all. They address the global challenges we face, including those related to poverty, inequality, climate, environmental degradation, prosperity, and peace and justice. The goals interconnect, and in order to leave no one behind, it's important that we achieve each goal and target by the year 2030. So that's what we're working towards when we think about the Global Classroom Project. We're connecting our portrait of a graduate outcomes with our content, which can be any content area from kindergarten through 12th grade, which for us is about age 5 to about age 18. And then thinking about how that content connects with the Sustainable Development Goals. So this is a video that was taken a couple of years ago. And this is a 4th grade class who was connecting with a school in Costa Rica. And this was at the beginning of the project. So the project has evolved since this video, but what's really interesting about this is to hear the student perspective. So I'm gonna go ahead and play this video, hopefully.
What if you were talking to somebody like at another elementary school and they were asking about this program, we call it Global Classroom. Yeah. Like, would you say it's worth doing? Would you say it's something important to do?
Yes. Yes,
yeah, definitely.
Why?
Because I mean, you're communicating with people in Costa Rica, and that's something that's new and exciting. Global classrooms is great. Being in a global classroom is actually great because basically I just love being in a global classroom because if you're researching about a certain place that some people in the global classroom are from, they can confirm, they can just revise and help you out with their information since they know a lot about what you're researching. I think it's very cool that we got to talk to them, because talking probably to someone across the country, another school across the country, that's pretty big, but talking to someone in a different country, that's huge opportunity. I feel really lucky that I'm in a global classroom and I got to do that.
To decide on something together.
Yeah, I know how to.
The most common form of transportation.
It's an authentic practice where students are engaged with one another to learn more about themselves, how they interact with each other, and ultimately how they're going to be as adults and impacting their lives.
So they're connecting through their content. So our 5th grade, landforms is one of the things, and if you go to Costa Rica, if you look at their landscape, it impacts and has a lot of the landforms that we study here. So communicating with the kids and sharing, we're learning about volcanoes, and then the Costa Rican students can be like, well, there's one right out my window, and they can share those concepts. So we look to find those ties, whether it's through language arts, math, or social studies and science, and how can we take our content and tie it to our communication and collaboration with the Costa Rican schools.
Our goal was we were going to make a slideshow because we had friends in Costa Rica and we shared them with them. I feel like they're kind of checking our work because they live in Costa Rica and they know a lot about Costa Rica, so they're kind of like checking our work.
To observe my students taking turns with the students from Costa Rica with their questions that they were asking, very thoughtful questions about the process of learning about one another and learning about how to add more information to their research was very amazing. And the actual Google presentation, their slide presentations they were integrating music, they were researching favorite songs that they would sing in Costa Rica, so they took it to the next level.
Some of the people in our class said it was a once-in-a-lifetime experience because, we're communicating with people that don't exactly live in the U.S., and that's different.
I think they got more out of it than I expected them to. We started very basic with just a classroom connection and then filtered it down to group connections with friends from there. And I am astounded with their understanding of the process they went through, more than I've ever had. I've worked with kids for years and I've never heard the conversations that they're sharing with one another about this learning experience.
I think this project is kind of embodies all of the Portrait of a Graduate skills, because this is life learning. This is what I consider to be meaningful learning. It's what we do as adults, is we're connecting with people however we need to build relationships and accomplish a common goal.
It definitely is working for my kids, which is most important, and we have to provide all of our children with opportunities to have a learning environment that does integrate everything within that practice and also embraces children's voice. Their voices are so important. And if we're listening to them, they're gonna create a pretty exciting venue for your instruction. So I would encourage anyone to try it. If you let go and let them enjoy, you'll be surprised by the amazing things that you hear from them.
Yes. I think other people should do it. Yeah, I think other people should try and do Global Classroom because you get to experience things that almost no one else in an elementary school has done. I mean, we're just 4th graders and we got to meet people in Costa Rica, and that's huge.
Okay, so there are just 2 points that I wanted to clarify with that video. One is that we do not have tobacco shops in 4th grade classrooms. I don't know if you happen to notice the background, but the kids were actually recreating Jamestown, Virginia as part of their social studies content. So the classroom looked a little bit different than it usually does. The second, this was about an elementary school, but we just want to reiterate that this is for all levels of education, ages 5 through 18. So all levels, elementary, middle, and high school is the levels that we have in Fairfax County. So I just wanted to share those 2 things. So now I just want to give you some more specific concrete examples of what a Global Classroom Project might look like in your school. We have a school named Braddock Elementary School, and you can tell here are these famous icons again. They are focusing on the communicator attribute, and they identified the goal of life on land. So it's the United Nations Sustainable Development Goal number 15, life on land. Their entry points into this work are language acquisition, because they're an elementary Spanish immersion school, sustainability, so thinking about that Get to Green program that we referenced before, and then STEAM. We call it STEAM in Fairfax County. We do put the A in there for the arts, but STEAM or STEM. They have 3 different partner countries. So they are partnering with Guatemala, Argentina, and Puerto Rico. And that's okay. As this project expands within schools, it's okay to be partnering with multiple countries. So you can see in grade 5, that's their partnership with Guatemala, and they look at ecosystems. And they're looking at this through their science curriculum, focusing on ethical and global citizen, collaborator, and communicator. And then we did tell them, they want to do all of them, but we did tell them just focus on one, because focusing on too many is going to be a little bit difficult. Grade 4 students in the immersion program are connecting with students in Argentina, and they are also looking at ecosystems. And then grade 3, they're the connection with Puerto Rico, and they're looking at different extreme weather that may be happening. So you can see that the content is similar. We don't expect our content to necessarily be a match for your content, but if we can look at some of these bigger ideas and even thinking about that concept-based instruction, what are some things that we might be able to identify as commonalities between us? So for example, if we're working on goal number 15, life on land, what might that look like in the United States? What might that look like in your country? Another example at the high school level is a school called Falls Church High School, and they're focusing on ethical and global citizen through goal number 14, life underwater. So again, they've entered through that sustainability pathway, but you can already see that there are connections with other pathways as well. This is a biology class where students were learning about the negative human impacts on marine ecosystems. So they were working with our partners in Costa Rica to do some research. What does it look like in Costa Rica? What does this look like in the United States? What kinds of solutions could we propose together to provide or to take action towards these human impacts? So what are the benefits of participation? So lots of benefits for both teachers and students. So as a teacher, you'd be participating in professional learning opportunities. Similar to the one today, we certainly would be offering webinars related to portrait of a graduate. We could talk about planning, we could look at project-based learning, we can look at all kinds of things, whatever we would determine together. Designing student instruction in collaboration with a partner school in FCPS. So this isn't something that we design and ask you to do. We really look at this as a true partnership, and we want the instruction to be designed by both teachers. It fosters global citizenship in our students, and that's more important than ever as we look at some of the crises that are happening around the world. providing opportunities for students to act on a local, national, or global level towards one of these United Nations Sustainable Development Goals. When we've had teachers look at their content and look at these Sustainable Development Goals, they have found so many connections between these global challenges and what they're teaching their students. And then what are the student benefits? So of course there's that feeling empathy for others, building relationships with peers, learning about intercultural competence, becoming aware of the global issues in which the Sustainable Development Goals were developed, taking that action on a global challenge, those 21st century skills, which in Fairfax County we call Portrait of a Graduate, and then how they can impact the world through their own global understanding of content knowledge. So lots of benefits for both teachers and students with this. So what is our purpose today? So we're seeking schools, teachers, and schools around the world to establish sustainable partnerships with K through 12 schools within our district. So through these partnerships, students will develop as global citizens while engaging in authentic collaboration opportunities with peers. As an outcome of this, students will be inspired to act toward the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals on that local, national, or global level. If you are interested in learning more about the Global Classroom Project or in finding out more about what a partnership might look like, we would encourage you to email gcp@fcps.edu and we can send you more information. You can also visit the FCPS Global Classroom Project website, and there's a section there that says interested in connecting, and there's a link to a Google form that you fill out. If you tweet, you can also follow us on Twitter to see what's happening in our schools at FCPS_GCP to learn more. I think I said it at the beginning of the webinar, but all of this information will be sent to you in a follow-up email. So if you didn't have the opportunity to write it down, we will send you these links and these emails, as well as our Twitter handle for you to follow up with. So now we have some, if you have some questions, our team is here and ready to answer for you.
All right, thank you so much. So yes, so if people have questions, feel free to either type them in the chat or to raise your digital hand, which is next to your name on the participant list, and I will be happy to unmute you. Please don't be shy. No question is a silly one. And you're also welcome to ask a question in Spanish if you're more comfortable with that. We do have a couple Spanish speakers in the group. Well, if there's no specific questions, I'm curious to know if any of our guests here today would like to share where they're from and what they might be looking for in an international partnership between schools and students and teachers. Does anybody care to share? We have one question from Annette Cooper. Okay, who is curious to know how many semesters or years has this project been going on? Who'd like to take that?
I'll go ahead and take it. Annette, this has been going on for 3 years now. We started with that school, Centerville Elementary, that you saw in the video. We started with them about 5 years ago, and they just had a single partnership with Costa Rica. And because we saw such great success with students and with teachers, and we saw the benefits of what this global partnership could look like, we actually said, how can we do this district-wide? So 3 years ago, we then added 7 schools, Last year we had 19 participating schools. This year we have 31 participating schools, and we keep growing. And when I say schools, I don't mean an entire school, because some of our schools are really big, but we are adding more and more partnerships as we go.
Great. Thank you, Annette. So another question here from Cheryl Ann Richardson Hart. I teach Caribbean history in Trinidad and Tobago. My students are between 14 to 16 years old. Any ideas for a group like this?
Well, I don't have a specific idea because I'm not sure exactly what your content is. I would say start by looking at the Sustainable Development Goals. Within each goal, if you're not familiar with them, within each goal there are specific targets. See where you might be able to align. Peace and justice, for example, is a goal that a lot of our history teachers are able to connect with. As long as we can connect on a goal, there are lots of ideas for how we can partner with you, even if our content is different, if that makes sense. Hopefully that makes sense.
Great. And another, a comment here from Annette. She says she's interested in a variety of levels. I have some early readers. I also like to work with young writers, and I think I can do a class interested in art. So there might be some connections there. We have another question from Marjorie. I'm an IB-PYP coordinator from Ecuador. We've done something similar with letters in our partner school in Chile. Sharing the planet is the theme that works best. I think that might just be a comment as opposed to a question. Marjorie, if that's understood, let me know.
Sorry, and I'd also like to add, Marjorie, that another person on our team is actually our IB-PYP coordinator. She's not able to be here today, but if you reach out to us, I can connect the two of you if you're interested, and you can see how this might work with the IB and PYP curriculum.
Great. A question here from Stephanel Stubbs. Hi there, I'm Stephanel, and an educator from the Bahamas, and I think the partnership will be excellent, especially in terms of marine biology and reading. We're getting lots of comments now. From Manuel Rangel, I work as an English teacher in Loja, Ecuador. What can I do with students who don't like English in a group? Because we have to teach all of them in a classroom.
I'm going to see if anybody from my team wants to answer any of these. Does anybody want to jump in? Certainly, student engagement is high when we do something like this. The idea of connecting with one another, the idea of developing those communication skills is really important. We use a lot of different technologies to communicate. We use Flipgrid, we use Google. If both sites have Google for Education, we're able to connect those two. There's lots of different options for us to connect and engage kids so that they are more excited about learning their content and learning their language.
I would also add that it's not required that the students speak English to participate. And so if the teacher is able to facilitate between, if the teachers can communicate, that's important, but if the teacher is able to facilitate the learning between the two groups of students and have windows into each other's worlds and into each other's classrooms and connections, you can do that through translation, you can do that through technology, so you can do it through the actual learning objectives. So it's not necessarily just, we're speaking to each other or we're sending letters to each other. It's actually hopefully much more than that. So it's not it's not a language class per se.
Let's see, thank you. We have a comment from Lima Peru, who teaches chemistry at a university to students who will eventually study in the UK. So I don't know if there are connections there for undergraduate students or not. Let's see, I don't think there's a specific question. Do we have any other questions while you have this opportunity to speak with the individuals from Fairfax County?
Rebecca, I do see a question about technology. So
I'm sorry, I already responded to that, but go ahead.
Oh, okay. I just see that, is it possible to use an app like this one? So I just want to add, Carmen, that we do have certain technologies that we are permitted to use. They go through an approval process in our district. And we've always been able to find a way to make something work. So while I don't have something specific to say right now what we use, that's something that, you know, we talk about as a partnership, what's going to work between both organizations, both schools.
Great. Okay, we have time for one final question or comment if anybody has anything to share.
Joni, did you want to take the comment from about the university?
I'm sorry, I didn't see that.
I was wondering, Maria de Fatima, if this is a university, what age group of students? Because our students only go up to, the students in our program only go up to the last year of high school. So, but I'm not sure what age your university starts. So I'm not sure how that we can make that connection possibly.
Well, barring any additional questions or comments, Maria de Fatima, you can probably follow up with the links. Okay, 17 and 18-year-old students is the response to that.
Okay.
That's like high school seniors for us.
And we do have a question about if you use class time or out of class time to connect. If you can respond to that quickly, then I think we can get that one in.
Oops. So yes, we use class time to connect. We don't have to have synchronous connections. The connections can be asynchronous. That's something, all of that is worked out with the partnership. But this is done for us in school. There might be opportunities to do things outside of the school day, but for the most part, they're done within the school day.
Great, thank you. Okay, well, I think that's about all the time we have. So I just really want to encourage everyone here to definitely follow up. We will send out an email in all likelihood tomorrow, depending upon how quickly we get that put together. We will include a video recording of today's session as well as the direct links that were in those slides so that you can reach out directly to Fairfax County and take a look at what kinds of opportunities there are for making connections. So the OAS is really hoping to identify at least, I think, 10 schools to make a connection with Fairfax County Public Schools. I'm sure the more the merrier, and I'm sure that you'll get more teachers involved as the years progress. So I want to thank everybody for coming today, and we'll be in touch shortly. All right? Thank you so much to everybody for coming.
Thank you all.
Have a wonderful afternoon.